As the war between Ukraine and Russia rages, the Ukrainian President Volodymr Zelensky is hoping to see what he calls Christmas peace. But Russia is still shelling his nation, even right inside the capital, Kyiv. Mr. Zelensky, who has just visited United States President Joe Biden, is clamoring for more financial support to keep his nation and people safe. We have more in this report.
On the heels of high-level meetings on Capitol Hill Tuesday morning, the Ukrainian President Volodymr Zelensky arrived at the White House to continue his plea for additional funding to fight the war against Russia. After meeting with all senators, Speaker Mike Johnson and the House Minority Speaker Hakeem Jeffries, Zelensky took the short drive to meet with President Joe Biden in the Oval Office. It is his third trip to the U.S. since Russia invaded Ukraine.
Ukrainians have
Mr. Zelensky
twice
is
led
again
revolutions
making the case for more
this
U.S. aid to
century,
help defend his
defending
country.
freedom. For nearly 2 years, we have been in a full-scale war, the biggest since World War II, fighting for freedom. We stand firm, no matter what Putin tries. He hasn't won any victories. Thanks to Ukraine's success in defense, other European nations are safe from the Russian aggression, unlike in the past. Ukraine can now tackle the Russian dictatorship. We dream of a Christmas in the peacetime, of course, and we are working to turn our battlefield success into peace. And we are heading there together with you, and thanks, of course, to your support. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, America. Slava Ukraine.
He also said that Congress must pass the supplemental national security funding bill before they leave for their holiday recess, calling a denial of the bill the greatest Christmas gift Putin could be given. President Biden also announced he had just signed another $200 million drawdown for the Department of Defense for Ukraine.
I've just signed another $200 million drawdown for the Department of Defense for Ukraine, and that'll be coming quickly. To stand with Ukraine and to stand up for freedom.
The meeting comes as Congress debates a supplemental national security funding bill that includes funding for Ukraine, which has been held up by Senate Republicans over U.S. immigration and border policy. On the flip side of the war front, Russian forces reportedly struck the Ukrainian capital Kyiv with missiles overnight. 4 districts of Kyiv were affected by the debris. In Horlivka, Ukrainian soldiers say they have taken over positions which had been under the control of the Russian invaders for the 9th year.
Joining me now from Belfast, Northern Ireland, for an analysis of the pressures of the Russia-Ukraine war is the journalist Francis Hall. Thank you for joining us on the news this hour. So the U.S. President, according to him, Russia is banking on the United States abandoning Ukraine at this time. Let's begin with what you think would be the implication of the Republicans having their way in this regard.
Sorry, my apologies, sir. I had the phone muted. I think what the Republicans are doing is they no longer see any chance of the Ukrainian government having victory in reclaiming parts of the Crimea and the Donbass, specifically the 4 independent regions that are now part of the Russian Federation. So the Republicans are seeing that they're throwing good money after bad, but we must remember that Biden was the person who brought about the regime coup in 2016, along with Victoria Nuland in Kyiv. He brought a right-wing fascist cabal into government, and that has caused the separation between eastern and western Ukraine. That has caused a civil war between the right-wing neo-Nazis of the new Ukraine government and the Russian-speaking Orthodox Christians of eastern Ukraine who see their future with Russia. And you've just actually covered what's happening in Palestine, and the fact that America is sending bombs and arms and equipment and giving political coverage to Israel is exactly what they are doing in the Ukraine. They are supporting 2 right-wing neo-fascist governments who, in their through their power and through their ideology, treat their enemies as subhuman and indeed dehumanize them and murder them at will. So I personally see no difference between the right-wing regime in Kyiv and the right-wing regime in the Knesset in Tel Aviv or West Jerusalem.
So for the Republicans, particularly those who are close allies to former U.S. President Donald Trump, they're questioning whether additional aid would really help Ukraine achieve a breakthrough in this war. The big question would be how significant has U.S. aid in the past, contributed to how much Ukraine has achieved, and is there an end in sight to, this donation of funds?
Well, Ukraine has achieved absolutely nothing. Zelensky can go to Congress, he can go and stand having a press conference at the White House in Washington, D.C. He can claim that they are defending Europe against this Russian Slavic onslaught, the same way Netanyahu claims he is protecting Europe against the barbarian Muslims of West Asia. As I say, there is absolutely no difference between the two regimes. But when it comes to the Republicans, if Donald Trump had won the election in 2020, there would be no war. Biden put this all in place, as I said, with the coup in 2016. Then when he became the elected president in 2020, that is when the war kicked off, the civil war kicked off big time in Ukraine. He armed the neo-Nazis. He assembled 700,000 Ukrainians on the border with eastern Ukraine, and there was going to be a complete slaughter. It is my opinion that what we witness in Gaza today, the slaughter of the innocent men, women, and children, non-combatants in the conflict between the Palestinian resistance, who have the right to resist the illegal occupation of their country, and the people of eastern Donbass, of eastern Ukraine, is that the Russians stepped in to prevent what we are witnessing in Gaza becoming a reality in the Donbass and in eastern Ukraine in 2020, 2021, and 2022 in February, when they moved in to protect the people. The only difference between the people of eastern Ukraine and the people of Palestine is that the Palestinians have no one to go and protect them, and they are being killed wholesale day by day with American bombs by the American administration.
Well, I guess time will tell whether Zelensky was able to convince the Republicans to be able to sign this new aid plan, as much as $1.4 billion for Ukraine. We'll see how that plays out. Journalist Francis Hill joins us live from Belfast. Thank you for your contribution.
Thank you, sir.